Ṣẹ̀kẹ̀rẹ̀ lọ bájò, ṣẹ̀kẹ̀rẹ̀ lọ bájò, Olúwa mi ò dìde ojú ṣẹ̀kẹ̀rẹ̀.
The Ashen Forge.
Hello and welcome to the Ashen Forge. I am Phantom X, joined as always by Diggs and the legendary Neurotoxin. Hopefully everything's going right. We haven't done this for a few weeks. How y'all doing?
Halloween.
Ooh,
Yeah, it's the October live stream.
that's right.
Oh, I was like, wait a minute, what? What did I miss?
Yeah, I know. And this one was a
Happy
little
Halloween.
delayed, and I think they hinted about Steven's brand new eye in the chat a little bit. Actually, no, I think it was one of the things they mentioned during the video during the live stream. But it sounds like he had to get a little bit of optical work done, and that might have been part of the reason why it was delayed. I don't know. Not part of my inner private circles or whatever, but word of things kind of comes around, and so that's really good. Always glad for people to have improvements to their vision.
All right, sorry. Sorry, somebody said double
Did I
audio.
throw everything out? Did I just derail it?
Oh, no.
No.
Somebody said double audio, and I was like, holy shit, hold on, what's going on? But then they said, never mind, I had two streams open at the same time. So,
Gotta watch ads for us on both channels. Thank you. Very much appreciated.
yeah, I know he sorry, I just totally missed. I think you mentioned Steven having some stuff done. So, yeah, no, it's good to see him back. He looked rested. He looked, ready to go. Looked like the old Steven.
Yeah.
So,
Ashes is booming.
no, it's all good.
It's blowing up.
I think why everybody knows what's going on. This is we kept putting this off. So, gosh, where to even freaking begin? I think everybody knows Ashes is going to Steam, early access.
And they're adopting the Steam return policy.
Already did, I think.
Yeah, and so just to touch on that real quick, Steam return policy standard is 2 weeks within 2 weeks of a purchase. If you've played 2 hours or less of it, you can get a refund. And now the first thing that makes me think of is, well, I sure hope the entire game is able to be downloaded in Steam, and it's not just a download the launcher and then run the launcher for however long it takes to install, and there goes your 2 hours, because that would be really dirty. So I really hope they're not doing it that way, and they're doing it the way where the launcher does not actually trigger gameplay, or that the launcher is just skipped if you're using the Steam to launch.
How long are you expecting it to take to install?
On people who don't have fancy, Ethernet to the curb, and they're just on like old timey-wimey, like 24 megs per second max on like copper, or like 12 megs per second topped out on like the best DSL or something. Yeah, people still have crappy connections. 5G doesn't make it any faster. That's still a whole lot of data.
You still didn't tell me how long.
It depends. It depends per user, and depends on their internet connection and how fast their computer can crunch the files. But I don't believe it's less than 2 hours for an average user that can run the game.
Yeah, that's what's going on in YouTube chat too. The other thing with since we're talking about the refund policy as well, let's assume everyone gets everything downloaded in 30 minutes, and you got an hour and a half left.
By the way, I got my popcorn for this one, everybody. I hope you have yours too.
But
don't feel too special. It's dry. No butter, no salt.
But The other thing they mentioned was that there will be 2 servers. I think they said to open up. They're bringing back 2 servers. They'll open more as needed, but that inevitably will mean queue, right? Probably. I mean, I'm assuming they're going to have enough interest that there will be a queue. So if it takes 2 hours to get another server up or 2 hours to get in, I don't know. Somebody was saying on the video I posted that there is a little bit of flexibility, I guess, on early access titles as far as the timing component for refunds. But I don't know, man. Review bombs, that's my biggest concern. So I personally, I'll start it out with, I want Ashes to succeed. I want the developers to put out something really fun and really, I mean, we've been following this game for 9 years now. I don't want that to all go to waste. So, anything that has been said or will be said is more so in like the,
Content creator program is coming soon.
Just sort of wow, like, I still want them to be successful. This is a little bit of a head scratcher. So we'll try to figure out, kind of mosey our way on down the last live stream and talk a little bit about it.
We're not trying to punish the team or the studio, and we're not trying to preach or foretell or otherwise try to lead towards the demise of the project. We do want it to succeed, but where things have gone and been in the past year, since we've been able to play for over a year now at this point, it's more of like the old comedian gag about like when your parents hit you and then they say, "I hurt you because I love you," sort of thing. We're more like that. We're trying to beat it into shape, into going the right direction here, and I guess that's maybe too violent of an analogy even.
It hurts me more than it hurts you. It hurts me to say this more than it hurts you.
Well, and that is the other part of the comedian's bit there too. But I will say, it's a twofold thing. It's that what we were originally sold on, the vision of the game that we had first backed, it is dynamically changed since then. But then on top of that, we haven't seen the changes and progress and updates that they've been making leading still towards like a good direction, a good use of the ideas that they originally started with. And all of that combined with the rubber meeting the road, and unfortunately a particularly competitive to the point of being overly toxic and like getting after players in a way that you could real life take them to court for, players and other players, like full on like harassing people's families and stuff. There is definitely a part of a creative and collaborative experience of trying to play an MMO and be with a community and meet and interact with other communities, that it just doesn't seem like it's been done in a fun and charitable way up to this point, and we still don't really see where it's gonna come through the other end of the tunnel and see the light based on the way that development has gone. And that's not to say that they can't. That's not to say that they don't have more in store that we don't know. We don't know what sort of oopses that they've recognized. Like, I go all the way back, talking about the quests that are broken. Well, some of them were still broken the last time I played. Talking about how the starting area in the human start zone is always going to be a rough experience unless server grading is super powerful. But even then, the two towns butted up next to Warhelm situation, it still just never felt right. I like a little bit more of what they're doing now, where you distinctly go two different directions for a ways when you start in the Dwarven, the Dunir start point. But then, you know, kind of bringing back on course, like the talking about the changes and things, the world has shrunk considerably since the original pitch. Instead of 2 continents, a vast ocean with things to explore, and the Underdark and Tolnar all being in at launch, now I'm thinking Underdark, Underrealm, whatever, is probably going to be a later expansion. It feels like they want to make sure there's 4 starting zones on the first continent and 4 more starting zones on a second continent. It's going to be a later expansion. The ocean and doing things out in the wide open waters is again going to be another expansion, and perhaps even the return of Metropolis one day to make a tier in between city and metropolis, so that way cities can be called metropolis again. You know, that may also come again one day. A crafting system, an artisan system, where you collect a reasonable amount of materials and put in a reasonable amount of effort to be able to create reasonable items to arm players with and sell and be able to, you know, get your efforts worth out of it. We may see that. In fact, we may even see it with a crafting system that facilitates, you know, fun, interesting experimentation, getting good with certain materials and being able to make unique items because other people didn't specialize the same way as you, and they don't have the ability to work the materials in the same way. They still have the ability to do that, but it feels like a lot of that stuff is going to be pushed back to like expansion deal, not even DLC. It's just, you know, expansions, whether it's going to be paid or free, like just big update sort of things. I don't really feel like that's going to be the target for release at this point. And now this change to Steam, calling it Steam Early Access, getting in the face of all the people that used to be playing New World. There's a lot riding on this strategy that they're going for, and it's not that they can't make a great game still, and it's not that they don't potentially have something really satisfying still cooking right now, and it'll be a good Varen stew once it finally finishes stewing. But right now, it's real hard to see, based on where we started a year ago to where we're at right now, exactly how they're going to pull that off and how they're going to be able to make it appealing along the way. Now, I hope everybody had a chance to enjoy some popcorn. I'm going to shut up for a moment because I'm sure you guys have something else to say about all of this.
I thought that they worded Steam in an interesting manner, that they said they will be inviting people who have Beta 1 and Beta 2 access in on December 11th, so they will be able to play. But it's still alpha. Still alpha. Is it 2.5 or is it 3?
I believe we are still officially in 2.5.
Yeah. Okay.
I guess technically, to go back to what you used to say, we're almost in like a 2.75 right now.
Yeah. But so we still will be having an official Beta 1 phase and an official Beta 2 phase. Just the people who have Beta 1 and Beta 2 access, who purchased that through Kickstarter or whatever the packages were, they will be getting access on December 11th. So
now, I didn't parse that fully. Is it only Kickstarter backers and everybody from like,
I think they're bringing
the
everybody.
backer
I think
pack
it's anyone who has the Beta 1 and Beta 2 access, however they got it.
I think there's 2 ways that people are kind of looking at that. I think one, it's the, you know, specific to Kickstarter. I guess there's kind of 3 ways. We'll say the first way, which is just the nice, pleasant way, is they just want everyone in and they want everyone to play. Second, some people would say, you know, this satisfies now Kickstarter were largely the big parts. There's still cosmetics and things that they have to put in, but the big parts of Kickstarter, the alphas, the betas, will be will be done at that point. They will just have to release. So is this also a way to just bring everyone in? And if you have to wrap it up, you can wrap it up, early next year. And then another third way is that, which I actually think makes sense too, is they're going to be reintroducing cosmetics. Like they've not announced anything as far as dates and stuff, but they've basically said they're going to be, they've said, I think they're going to be doing cosmetics again at some point. So by bringing in all those beta players, I mean, you are just tapping back into folks for, that kind of money. But bringing in all your beta.
So you're saying it's a scam? Is that what you're saying? It's a scam?
I don't think it's a scam.
We can quote you.
No, it sort of drives me nuts when everyone calls this a scam, because clearly there's been money. Like clearly Steven has spent a lot of, like, I don't think you scam people in order to lose money, right? And it would not be ideal for the game to shut down for anyone in January or February, especially him. Like, so no, it does drive me nuts when people kind of call it a scam. I think, to me, it would be more appropriate to say maybe things have been mismanaged, or things were not as put together as we might have liked, and things just as a brand new studio didn't happen in a very cohesive way that's led to us being here. But as far as being a scam, no, like he's, that drives me nuts when people say that. But and a lot of that comes from his background, where he kind of first started with working. Before we keep moving on, though, I put this in the YouTube chat, but since we're on a roll here, I want to remind everyone, there are 2 videos that I put out there, one about beta next year and one about one continent, not 2. So just saying, you might go look at that and think about it for a little bit. So, because everything else seems to be lining up. But yeah, I before we get into sort of the pluses and minuses of Steam and whatnot, and sort of what that all means, we delayed this like a week or two. So I got sent. This is all in this video, and like I said, Intrepid's aware because I made them aware. I got sent audio of the meeting, portions of the audio. I don't have the whole thing, but portions of the all hands meeting, whatever they call it, which was the Friday, which was the original date for the live stream, which they canceled. Or
like
delayed.
2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
2 weeks ago, basically.
Something like that. Yeah. Cause they delayed a week and then they delayed another week. So it was that very first one is when they had this meeting. And so I got sent this audio. It was sort of like, wow, what do you do with this? Right? Like, this is a big deal. So I did reach out to them and just let them know that I knew and what I thought about it. And that's where I started putting out some videos of what if videos, what if Steam, what if Ashes landed on Steam? And the comments were very, very clear. And I will point out, yes, we are small streamers, so we don't have huge audiences. Most of the people that commented on all those were not following that, like they are not subscribed to anything, YouTube or not. So, so what I'm getting at is these weren't like people, right, that just believe everything we say and agree. Like these were just normal people out in the community that you stream to, and disagreeing with this. So I don't know, still happened, but that's why we didn't stream last week, because they delayed by a week. But that was the first time their team found out. Lizard Girls, I appreciate the sub to the channel. So the team's only known for a couple weeks too, which is wild, man.
Mm-hmm. Now,
So,
I thought I saw.
Oh, hold on. I want to ask a question, because there was some, I don't know who discovered it, but there was some mention of Steam files starting to show up in the Ashes files at some point. And I wonder how close that was to the announcement.
And I remember a quote saying that they would not be going to Steam. I don't remember how old that quote was, though. I thought there was a quote from Steven saying that they would not be going to Steam.
Oh, there's several quotes. Yeah, they've been getting posted in Discord. all weekend. There's like 4 or 5 of them or something of, you know, yeah.
Now it's interesting because so how do you think it would grab New World players? What New World players would say, "Oh, now we don't have New World to play, so we're going to jump to Ashes"?
I'm on
find that
Steam.
hard to
I
imagine.
keep hearing about this Ashes game, and I'm looking forward to something that I want to be able to play. So if there's a head start and I can start learning the mechanics now, well, golly, I'll just buy in now and be able to play it. In fact, maybe I'll do that, because if I don't want to play it by the time it's got its subscription feature, at least I will have had the chance to play it up to that point and then make my decision. That's kind of what I'm thinking is going to be the logic for a lot of New World players.
And you think they're just New World players are unaware of Ashes?
Not necessarily unaware, but I'm sure there's a lot of them that haven't given it a try yet and have maybe been curious. And now that it's going to be advertised in their face on Steam for a moment at some point, yeah, maybe.
I think just in general, I don't capturing New World players specifically. I guess
I mean, anybody on Steam, sure, but
but I think the thing is with Ashes going to Steam, lots of people, I think, assume that means it has left alpha stage and is now closer to something like a head start. That's the feeling I've been getting, as people say, well, they can just remove the alpha label now. Oh, did I freeze?
You're good.
yeah, you've
Not a
been.
picture, but my camera froze.
Hmm.
But yeah, I think that is one concern, is that many people will assume that it's in a better stage of development that it actually might be at the moment.
And I think there are things they can do to fix that. I just don't think they have enough time. I mean, it's 25 days now, I think 25, 26, I don't know, something like that. You know, I mean, you know, the things that come off the top of my mind are the big things that make me worried about Steam and just the reviews and everything that comes from it. One is new player experience, because all these people are going to be new. So if your new user experience is what it's been, frankly, it's not been good. Questing. So there is, you know, the whole story arc system and the quests, like that needs to be implemented. There needs to be something to do. Third, and which brings me to the third thing, which is the grind. Like that is, you know, not going to be a fan. Not many people are going to be a fan of the grind as it is right now. And then the next is just the whole economy. You know, crafting systems. That's not even also getting into all the exploiters and everything else that's been an issue. Which I think PTR, like a bunch of people got kicked for EAC violations. So they're trying to fix something. Steven is obviously very aware. Oh no, I agree, Mr. Nobtastic. I think they're very aware of where this is potentially heading, which all of this just makes me, you know, when you consider all of it, you know, for everyone, I agree with everyone that it should go to Steam. Like that's a logical place to end up. It's just the now is this, and also in December 11th, like we did, phase 2 started when December. It was December, sometime in December, right? Because it was right before the holidays.
Right.
Or even like a late November.
No, it was in December, and it did not go super well, because there were, you know, it was half the team was there over the holidays, and now you're going to go early access on Steam right in the same time frame. I don't know, like what it just feels weird.
They had to pull everybody, all hands on deck, to improve the desert, because a Mr. Somebody named after a narcotics officer decided to have his big stare at the edge of the desert and curse Steven's name video. And so they had to respond by filling out the desert.
Haha.
Yeah,
That happened.
but then
And so that's kind of rough too, because this is basically, that happened like right around New Year, and then all of a sudden, that, and then Pirate Software, and he did his thing, and since then, Pirate Software's gone down the drain too.
yeah, I mean, he's taking his licks. He's still going though, but yeah, I think a lot of people have decided to move on from him. I don't know. This is not what I thought of with marketing, but getting to the where I think this sort of stems from. You mentioned the Steam. You can go to Steam database and look up all of this stuff where changes have been made. They first requested. Interestingly enough, it's you can go to Intrepid Studios as far as Ashes of Creation Apocalypse, and click on the company, and it shows you the versions of Apocalypse that they had on Steam. But this Ashes of Creation entry is actually connected to a different Intrepid. I don't know if it's a different Intrepid Studios. I have to go and look because it doesn't pop up together with APOC, which is kind of weird. But anyways, they put this together. It was the October 20th. So that is when that first got updated, because you can go back in time now and look. October 20th is when they first pushed into Steam. To the 28th is when it was publicly announced, anyways, that New World was closing. So there's some curiosity there. The audio I heard, there was a question of why, and it was one thing that was cited was market viability. That the current assessment of the market meant this was they interpreted it as this was a very good time to do this.
Wait,
and
what does that mean?
I can't get in. I heard what I just said, so I don't know what the actual meant. To me, what that means is they see New World, New World's closing, so that population's got to go somewhere. Ghost MMO gets shut down. Warhammer too, but that was probably less. I mean, people probably cared less about that. But you have a time where a lot of Western stuff basically is shutting down, and so you're going to potentially have an open market, basically, of people to kind of tap into. That is just what I interpret that as. But
well, I want to talk about
Warhammer fans are happy about it. Warhammer fans love all Warhammer things that get made, so they're probably pretty upset.
Well, I wonder, because on the one hand, I just think that you go into Ashes right now, and I don't know. Personally, I just don't see what at this moment, I don't see what the hook is. Like, you go in and sure, you can do stuff, but it's all basically static, repeatable quests, and I guess the combat is okay. I mean, it's okay, and it's fun to run around in alpha for a while. If you don't mind the long updates or whatever, but okay, but I mean, are you really gonna stay in as long as you would stay playing New World? Are you gonna stay in playing as long as you would playing Warhammer? And then, I mean, there's plenty of other. I mean, just because New World is closing doesn't mean that there aren't other fun games to play, like Sword of Justice or Where Winds Meet or World of Warcraft Midnight, or I mean,
whatever expedition of No Man's Sky is going on, or Blue Protocol.
And New World hasn't been
already
shuttered yet, right? You can still go in New World and play.
I almost wonder if the idea with that is they're going to try to go along, have it keep going long enough that they can find a studio that'll buy it and basically take it over. Like if NetEase or someone wanted to do that, or Tencent.
Yeah.
I don't think they're too picky.
But it seems like it's maybe I'm doing too much theory forging, but or theory crafting, but I don't see why it would be such a good time place marketing wise, just because New World announced that they wouldn't be doing anything newest in terms of new updates because their Night Haven, is that the name of it, that just released? So people are still playing Night Haven. And then, I mean, again, No Man's Sky just had a new expedition come out. And then we've had a bunch of new games. Even though they're Eastern games, that doesn't mean people aren't going to be interested in playing them. So from that end, it seems like it's not particularly great timing wise. And again, maybe because they're introducing Harbingers and finally getting Summoner in. That's the last of the primary archetypes that we've been waiting for. So maybe that's why the timing seems good. But there could be other reasons why the timing is good, I guess, is kind of what I'm getting at. That's neither marketing nor the state of
What are you talking about?
where the
Finances?
gameplay is. I'm just saying there could be other aspects that are neither one of those things.
I've heard, two other ideas out there. Is this also, and it because there's also, when you look at it, like how much money are they going to actually get from this, especially when Steam takes 30%. And you look at 250 plus people that they employ, or that what we've been told. Is this a investor? Is this an attempt to show profitability or show interest so that you can bring in more people to potentially invest into this game? If that's the case, I think everyone would agree. Okay, like if that's not affecting your development, but again, communication, transparency. I mean, the community at large has known about two investors now for a year, based off of just legal documents that are out there publicly available, and it still has been sort of the quiet secret that no one ever talks about. It's like, it's that communication side. Just like, I think I would be fine, at least, if he said, hey, if they count and said, hey, part of this is we do want to try to find, a little bit of, some backing help. And, this is a good way to do this. Cause I think it might be then, right? Like that might make sense to go at it, at that point. But, the other one is just,
that just brought a funny thought to mind. They could always partner with OpenAI as a place to test working text-to-speech AI models, and then have players like report or like thumbs up, thumbs down. So if it sounds like the character gives something that delivers, then the players are validating, which is both good for OpenAI and it's good for the game. And that way we can avoid having like Lionhold has its troubles, and those sort of funky voices those early AI attempts resulted in. So I mean that could be an interesting way to go too.
Yeah, but I just wish, if that's the case, I think people would understand if you said it. I think that would make more sense than, hey, the game's going to do great. Like when everyone's going, are you sure? Are you really sure? I mean, what all have we even done on the PTR at this point? I mean, they've pushed some stuff out there, but I don't know. The other thing that I've heard, and I don't know that I believe this or it's true, is the idea that it's not investors, but is their attempt to look for a new owner for the company? But I don't. I wouldn't see that. I think Steven's too. I mean, this is his. Outside of his husband, and his family, it's probably the main thing he's loved in his life for, a while now. It's his passion. It's his, essentially his child. So I don't know that that'd be it, but I think it'd be perfectly reasonable to come out and say, hey guys, we just, to get us over the next year or two, would like to bring in some investors, and this is going to help do that. I think that's a very different message that people would probably support. So.
So we're getting Harbingers December 11th. And Summoner is coming to live. I think Summoner is just on the PTR right now, or did it come to live?
No, it's just a PTR. Live's been shut down too. So live is now closed, except for weekends, I believe. And then
Okay.
in an effort to get everyone over to PTR to release, which is probably what we should have been doing for a while now. But
Yeah. So, did you see anything new in Summoner? I think Phantom has seen Summoner in the PTR.
yeah, I think
I don't know.
yeah, Summoner's. I think Summoner's going to be fun to play. It's there's still bugs and stuff to work out. It is OP at this point. But most of their classes are at this start. Oh well, and every class.
I like that they finally kind of revealed how a necromancer is going to work. That necrotic is one of the elements summoners deal with. So when you mix a summoner with a cleric, now you've got that necrotic going on.
Yeah. So I think it's gonna be good. It remains to be seen. Does it take place of clerics? Does it take place? Is there going to be a role on the team for everyone, or not? But
I don't know. We'll see. We'll see about that. So far, the most important role on the team that's very clearly defined is the cleric is the person who revives people and heals.
Man, we also need some class reworks. But anyway, clerics.
One thing that I found very amusing about the dev live stream was the introduction of duels. And the interesting thing I found about it
afterwards was funny to me.
Well, I thought it was very interesting that they're going to have party duels and raid duels. Is a battle of more than 2 people a duel?
Yeah. Interesting question.
You would think a duel is when 2 people, a pair, a dual contestant event are going at it, DUAL, DUEL, kind of having some commonality. But no, I mean, in this case, it's any side who wants to sign up and fight any other side can go ahead and do it. Which I suppose is good if you want to have guildies being able to fight guildies without having to drop the guild, because that is kind of annoying.
Yeah, classical meaning 2 individuals agree to fight.
Yeah.
Modern meaning 1v1 fight.
I like that it allows more room for not just sanctioned PvP, but in particular for guild members to be able to kind of sort out their whatevers without needing to have people drop guild and deal with the timers and that stuff. So it's good for that.
Yeah,
it was the question was asked if people would get healed afterwards, and the answer is no, because we wouldn't want to create a situation where people are like exploiting a duel situation where they enter a duel and they're just fighting mobs, and then if somebody gets reduced to 0 health, they both just pop to full. Okay, fine.
Seems like there's better ways to do that, but
yeah.
Better clear dots though, because I wouldn't want the duel to end and then the person dies because they're still on fire. That'd be dumb.
Yeah, I want to comment that while we're talking about harbingers, is how people think that's going to go over. I mean, that is one of the central parts to this, right? Is a functioning, well-received harbingers, which is supposed to include story arcs and things like that. Of course, we get you mentioned duels. We get sport fishing.
I forgot about that part.
Yeah, which doesn't really intrigue me super much at this point, but we'll see. Those are your sort of big things coming about in the Summoner as well. But I'm curious how you all think harbingers will go. I personally, I can't wrap my head around it being hugely successful when it's, you know, a corruption, when it's a lawless space, when it's basically free for all PvP.
It's
But I'm
not
curious what you think.
designed in a way that's intended for large raids to collaborate together to take down a common foe. Not that that's necessarily how the design is for other bosses, but if the idea is we all want to, you know, gather our strength and knock this thing out so we can take care of the corruption in the area so our nodes don't get over, or excuse me, so our settlements don't get overrun with the corruption going on. I can completely see how that's going to be super difficult if everybody that's out of your raid group is effectively flagged as combatant that you don't know anything else about, or however they're going to do that to obfuscate who it is that you're seeing out there. I do imagine there's going to be a lot of success in people who just sneak in as far as they can to kill a few things and gather some materials and then run them out, and then have somebody that they're, you know, either handing the stuff to or just run them straight back to wherever they can safely run them to. But like little quick back and forth, these sorts of things, rather than sitting with the big rolling Zerg that's going around killing anybody who overextends and taking their stuff. But we'll see.
Don't give Intrepid the benefit of the doubt. That's not.
I mean, I'm not going to say it's necessarily a great system, but they'll have to have us try it before they'll be able to A, get feedback of whether it works or not, and B, get our opinion of whether or not it's something we actually like in the game or not. Because if the answer is no to both, it either needs to be retuned or removed. And it's an expensive feature, so I don't think they're going to remove it after all this time. So it's, you know, we got to see it before we can tell them what needs to be fixed about it.
Yeah. I just, you know, with all the PvE players being in a lawless area and, it, you know, with PvE objectives, just thinking about the broader audience, I just don't know how well that gets received. You know, how many times does someone keep going back that's not used to that sort of stuff?
Yeah, I mean,
because it is also
you know,
a central
I would,
part, right?
yeah, I would hope that Harbingers is not static. Like, I would hope that especially it's cleaning corruption, and that's gonna, right, how corruption is affecting the area should be dynamic. If you don't clean it, then more stuff happens. If you do clean it, I mean, that's some type of dynamism. And that is one of my kind of complaints about the gameplay right now. Is one of the big hooks for me for Ashes of Creation was that we were going to have constantly evolving ecosystem as settlements rise and fall. But is that only going to be where the Harbingers are based on PvP? How can we make I mean, I know PvP, I guess, through destroying nodes and destroying settlements and creating them. That's a lot of what drives the change in the world. But I would still hope that PvE could also somehow evoke some change, and I just don't have to go fight the Harbingers just to create change.
I mean, that's what it is. That's the big system.
It makes me also think about the idea of servers that are unmaintained for too long, where the corruption spreads too far and it takes over too much, having to potentially be collapsed into different servers. I don't know if they're going to do that. I thought that was kind of a cool idea, but I can see how that might not be the form of server death and merge that players are happy with, especially if they like the community on their lower population server that they play on.
Sorry.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at least it'll be somewhat fun to test, right? I mean, it's kind of the purposes of alpha is to test, so it should be a good thing to test in any case, hopefully.
Yeah, corruption will spread
But
too.
I really am hoping for a server where it's just the held server. I want to see that. Like, what happens when you don't stop corruption? I want a server that
I mean,
gets maximum corruption.
there's a fairly decent chance
play
you
with
get
the
there.
sweaties, because a lot of them want corruption everywhere so they can fight everyone everywhere. And yeah, you know, the sweaties will make it happen. It's just like at the start when guilds get big, take over nodes, and choose not to advance the tech because they want to have an advantage because they're so sweaty and they've been exploiting to get XP and getting all the best drops. So the only way you can compete with them is competing for their grind spots, or not, you know, trying to craft your way up, but you're not able to because they're preventing enough nodes. We don't have as much of that anymore because we have a lot more nodes to deal with. Settlements, not nodes, settlements. You know, that's kind of the feeling I would expect from this, is that that if players want to drag the server down by allowing these things to fester and drag out, and make sure they protect the ancient so it never gets defeated and it just keeps getting stronger. Yeah, I imagine we're going to have those kind of sweaties with those kind of servers, and those servers are going to come crashing down. And then after it happens a few times, they're like, oh, but all the stuff that I lost because I only get to keep what's on my character, my stuff, my loots. It's like, yeah, well, you let the place get so blighted, you should be happy that it even got merged to begin with.
I mean, there's already people talking about that, right? Already in Discord about wanting to see corruption spread and see where it can, you know, because the other side to this, you know, interestingly enough, that I feel like you will get from the forums as far as things that need to be improved upon for Steam is just the PvP. Like, you know, here we talk a lot about PvEers and what they're going to be willing to do and not willing to do, and you know, how is that going to affect them? But you know, the people that are really into the PvP side of things are also not super happy with where things are right now. Like they don't feel like the events are super rewarding. There's no reason to do them. Corruption's overtuned. You know, and so, you know, they're going to be wanting PvP. So I also, you know, early in the life cycle of Harbingers, I think you're going to see not just the want for corruption to spread and see what that does, but just to kill people, like just to PvP, just to go out and kill people and be able to do that in these areas, because that's not something that they really get a lot of right now. So we'll see how it starts out. You know, I feel like the big thing they should be trying to figure out with PvP is how to get your caravans back working and functional and useful like they were. You know, when I think back about Alpha 2, like everything that I've seen outside of big skirmishes about PvP where people were having fun was in caravans. Like just that process of running vans was a lot of fun for those folks, and that sort of turned, you know, not beneficial or anything. And so you don't see them.
Who cares about caravans when you've got crates? Crates.
I'll tell you why you should care about caravans, because we never got the most important part. We never got the most important part. You know what that is? All the special powers, all the tools and gadgets and stuff that's supposed to make it a rolling defensible fortress instead of a kill me target. That's what they need. Short of that, they're dumb. They were just the only way to do economy in an efficient way. And then crates came along and it's like, I'll just carry it on my back. Let's go, boys. You know, it's a lot easier. 20 people carrying a crate is going to move a lot more than 20 people defending one caravan. And so that's what's supposed to turn the tide. Just like how the ships came with cannons. It's like, well, imagine slapping a couple of those bad boys on and you've got people riding on the caravan firing those cannons. Yeah, that's going to turn the situation around just a little bit. an AoE knockback that you can fire every 30 seconds, some like defensive buffs to greatly bolster the armor and reduce the damage you're taking for a bit of time. Yeah, like those are the sorts of things, your speed boosts, you know, whatever, like these are the things that it never had. You would be able to build it up super nice and super tough with all the rarest materials. I'd imagine with the current state of the economy, you've got to cut down 2 forests just to make one good caravan. But when you make it, like it's still just a big hit me target compared to the idea that was originally there, that these things have armaments and improvements and things that don't just increase its speed and defense, but it gives it active components to reward defenders and give them better odds instead of, well, I'm a defender. I have 2 options: stay with it and hope I get paid, or die along the way and choose whether I want to come back to it or not. So that's not a really good prospect for being a defender. At least being able to have that AoE and having those extra features. Now it's like, all right, yeah, I'm gonna defend this thing, and when people come, I'm gonna whoop their asses.
Because I've got this, work, you know. Though? How does that work? So you have 20 people doing crates instead of a caravan. The caravan is basically a battleground, so there's no corruption penalties there.
Correct.
But there would be if you're attacking 20 people just with crates. Although, yes,
if they don't go into neutral territory, the best you can do is wait for somebody to get a monster on it, beat the crap out of them, but don't be the one to land the finishing blow. And hope that their buddies don't back them up.
Well, and then I'm wondering what percentage of your cargo gets through if you're just running crates. Like maybe it is better to do 20 people gathering crates, and maybe 30% just keep running instead of trying to defend each other, or 40%, maybe even 50%. Like if the caravan is destroyed, then that's 80 to 90% of your cargo is gone?
No, I think it's about 10 or 15% loss in value, or part of it is it loses a bit off the top, and then if you pry them open, you lose a lot more value, but everybody who comes by gets to grab some, or is it just the first person who opens it? I can't remember. It was supposed to be something where everybody was able to get a piece, but it might just be... But I'm just
so how much do you think for a caravan? A caravan gets destroyed, how much of the cargo makes it to its destination, do you think?
If it's all pried open, it's going to be 75% of 90%, I believe.
Okay, so you think most of the people who were driving the caravan are going to be able to make it back with some goods?
Well, yeah, that one's hard to say because time of day, who you know, what
I'm just wondering what the cost benefit is. Yeah, is it better to risk it with the caravan, or is it better to risk it with 20 people running crates? I just do wonder.
I think 20 people running crates on a donkey, because a donkey moves at normal move speed. It's not that people won't be able to catch up to you and try to pick you off one by one, but you always have the option to get off and fight. The other thing is, maybe you don't have a crate on your back, you just have the crates on the donkeys. So if people come by, you jump off and defend the donkeys. And if a few of your people fall, then maybe some people take the crate on their back too. They'll be a bit slower in combat, but everything else is unaffected, essentially. So that's why crates are still going to be more advantageous in a lot of ways, unless or until caravans are actually a substantial, centerpiece of a fighting force. Then at that point, it's not just having one caravan. you would maybe have 2 or 3 caravans. If things get tough, you start to bring them together, circle the wagons, fire your powers, and try to sustain each other.
The other thing,
So that could still be a crew of 20 people. It's going to take a little bit more to get the caravans going than a bunch of donkeys.
the other part to all
Either
this.
of you know the state of sieges right now?
I mean, they're
still being tested and balanced.
Yeah, PTR's got all that going on.
Like sieges or settlement sieges, something that happens?
Yeah, they've been testing stuff on PTR. I can probably pop in here. And
Is that going to be live December 11th?
supposed to.
Yeah, I think they want it to be.
Okay.
Let's see, PTR news. Well, I can find it. The other thing I was going to say real quickly, I don't know if Rive is still in here because this is partly your fault. I'm just kidding. All of the PvP, like largely all the PvP guilds are gone. So, like, where's everybody gone? Right? Like, that's where things are at with I think the frustration with the PvP side is that you've along the way, we lost everybody. I remember the early fights with Envious and Nova Ordum, and both them are gone. Just so many things gone along the way.
Why are they gone? Why are they gone?
They had their fill and moved on to other games.
Okay.
Yeah, I think there's various reasons, but my bigger point just being like, they're not even here anymore. Actually, I don't know how many of them are coming back.
You got a hammer there?
Oh, I get you.
I don't know. I'm very well hoping that all the big PvP groups that have been waiting and like, yeah, we're done for now. We know the current state of the game and how to do it and how to kick ass at it. And we're just like done, and we'll come back when there's something really cool to see. Well, them and all the other people that have been like, I'm just gonna hold out until the next phase before I even install it again. I think that's going to be a lot of the people that are going to be coming back, PvPers and otherwise, to really see what the system's like, what the changes are like, and all of that.
Left because the game is a slog and not ready for Steam. Somebody has opinions. Okay. We welcome opinions, but that was funny.
I mean, I remember Rive and the other like ultra sweaty folks talking about like, basically before the next phase would occur, they would get on and start like practicing starting new characters and going the most well-known path to get levels and equipment and all of that sort of stuff. And so when the next phase would hit, they would have everything well rehearsed, and like everyone else that was super sweaty hardcore, be trying to be the ones to get ahead first and foremost and quickly. I don't feel like we've got anybody doing that right now. I don't know if we're going to have anybody doing that right now, because it feels like what's going to be up when the new phase starts up is going to be so different that there's going to be a lot less, being able to practice and rehearse and get ready ahead of time. But
so it looks like
I think a lot of people will be coming back.
One person was saying that they spend 5 hours looking for PvP and only get one PvP battle in.
Right now, that's not good for PvP.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I guess because everybody's leaving, so.
And then
the PvPers are leaving, I mean.
Yeah. Feels like most people are. And then the price, that's the other big thing that came from this. So the price will be $49.99. And then there's a discount at the start, first week or two or something. That'll be like 42 something. How's everybody feel about that?
All
that
of the
again.
back and forth that was going on about, well, we don't want to rip off the people that have already bought in, and we want to honor the investments they've put in, so we want to keep the price high. And now it's definitely changed course to, nope, all taking all comers, you just got to pay.
Yeah, I don't know. And this is where I get curious about how they've implemented also the refund policy. Because if you have people that are 60 days in that paid 100 and that they know it's going to go in half, I mean, I guess at this point, like they're kind of out of luck. But based off those,
I saw somebody mentioning that in Twitch chat, and many people, or maybe it was in the Discord after, and a lot of people replied, return it, buy it on Steam. If it matters that much to you, if you'd rather save the money, return it now, buy it on Steam.
Yeah. And I'm seeing a lot of chat in here. I agree with all y'all on Twitch and YouTube. I think most people that have paid for it are okay with the idea. Obviously, we all knew. I mean, Office is going free, right? Well, not free, but sub based. There won't be a buy-in. So, so we all knew it was going to eventually lower itself down and go further and further. So I'm not myself upset about it. Part of why we spent so much money is to get earlier access than what people did. Now, we
no, ultimately support the dev team.
Yeah. Ultimately, what is it worth? Is $150, $250 worth a year ahead? It's dependent on the person, I would guess. But I almost wonder though, is $50 too much for early access? I don't know. Obviously you go $49.99 because it looks a little bit better to the eye than 50, but I don't know.
So long as it's in big bold letters, when this game launches, it's going to have a subscription, unless that's going to change too, and they're going to lean so hard into microtransactions as part of the reason why they switched to Steam. Maybe they realize they're not going to be able to do it as a subscription-based game and have the people they want. So instead of getting cooked on that, they're going to rely on whales that buy everything, and they're basically consumer Jesus for the rest of the free-to-players. Now, how would you feel about that, being a lifetime subscriber payer?
Sorry, what? How to?
If they made the game free to play with microtransactions and got rid of the subscription?
Oh, that's a great question. I don't know. They better give me a damn.
You can't ask it of me because I didn't buy it.
They better give me a damn lot of stuff for whatever it is they microtransact, because add up the average lifespan and give me that in a monthly rate.
They'll give you Stufferton Bear for your Diggs NPC.
Yes.
My main thing with $50 though, $50 really sits you on a premium title, right? Price typically.
Yeah.
So when people are paying that much, is that just another level of expectation that's too high? Because they're expecting, it's $50. I expect a fair amount for $50.
Master Chief, that's going to be a hard nah. There won't be a lawsuit on that for any sure, because backing anything on Kickstarter gets the Kickstarter guarantee. You're backing this because you got the funds that you can burn, and you happen to want to burn them in this way. There is no guarantee of success or refunds or prorating or anything. And so, no, anybody who's got the lifetime sub has no grounds for a lawsuit if they want free-to-play microtransaction. None whatsoever. Zero legal recourse.
What I find interesting about it is these models that we've had with New World and with No Man's Sky, especially No Man's Sky, where you pay your money and, it doesn't have everything that they wanted at launch, but you know, season after season, they add more and more and more and more and more for free. And now it's infinitely better than it was at launch. I thought it was pretty good at launch, but it's much better with free updates. And New World did a pretty good job of that too, of getting better, 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 better. They did have that one expansion where they, you bought in for that, but that's still one, and it still was pretty good. The gameplay is much better, much more fun. So when it gets to be weird when you're thinking, okay, $50 now, and then maybe they don't release all of the content. Maybe you just keep going, and it just keeps getting better and better and better and better, kind of for free until they decide to kick in the subscription part.
That'd be kind of dirty if subscribers only access the second continent and the underrealm. that feels like some SOE sort of stuff.
It's just weird. Yeah, I don't know.
I do want to give Intrepid credit. I went through their Steam page to try to see how they've announced all this, and to be fair to them, like it says alpha many places.
Yes.
In the Steam description, I just don't know how many people read all of that. I know when I'm looking at Steam, a lot of that gets put into like the read more section, so you actually have to do an extra click to be able to see the text. I know literally the people don't read that. I know, but I'm saying that it is there though. I'm happy it's there. Their webpage that they had. Well, I made a comment about this somewhere. I don't remember where, but it didn't even. Oh, it was maybe in a video. But they spew all of this about us being testers. Like when you went to their advertising part of the website to buy a key, like it said nothing about being a tester. Like it told you all of these perks that you were going to be playing in this game. Word test was not anywhere. So I'm glad that they are putting, purposely putting things like that in the wording so that people understand. But how many, even if people do read it, like how many of your average Steam players are going to understand the difference between Alpha 1 and Alpha 2 and Beta 2, like in early access? Like, what does all that mean? I don't know. Yeah, people get mad because they didn't bother to
now
read.
That's something they're not doing a very good job of decoupling, almost intentionally kind of smearing this sort of thing, because alpha and beta means something, and they originally went in with that actually mattering, that alpha meant this is not a game that has all of the features complete but not the content. That's what beta is supposed to be, is features are now complete, now we're working on content before we release the game. So that is getting kind of pushed back as one of those, well, if but our current state of marketing release is early access. And so early access is basically overriding the alpha beta state based access.
Yeah. I want to Mr. Niptastic said, well, maybe the content creators should be helping get those accurate expectations out there. Well, one, that sparked a lot of thoughts, sir. One, like which content creators? Most of them. I mean, we still have a few out there, Copium Clinic, and some. We got Nice and Flanker and some folks that are still out there. But one, you just have to have people to do it. Two, I think some of the content creators were getting annoyed at like stuff being put on their shoulders, like stuff that seemed to be poorly communicated by Intrepid themselves, but Intrepid was also out there saying, you need to do this for us. Like, I think some people were thinking, well, why aren't you doing a better job yourselves instead of just relying on us to do this? But it's a good point. I'll also, I will also say you are. I think you're right. Like people who are content creators out there that want to support this game, probably, you're right. There should be some communication about that. It's just where is everyone at and being able to do that. I have to tell you, when I first heard this Steam thing, like I had to sit on it for like, I found it. I mean, I heard it Friday. I don't think I recorded that video on Sunday. And just because I did, when they talk about the stages of grief, like I went through all of them in a 24, 36 hour period. That probably sounds very dramatic, but it was one of those things like you just kind of going like, oh, well, like, is this real? Like, okay. Well, here's the good thing. Like, here's the, so it took a while to like wrap my brain around it. And it's kind of disheartening in a way that, has made it hard to want to come back and do anything right now, but probably will. I mean, I think there's some things that can be helpful. I am not sure that we all make it into the content creator program anyways, especially after the video that I just put out. So we'll see. Yeah, that was unfortunate.
There's going to be a content creator program?
Yes, and everyone will find out. When is it? The 24th. So in 8 days.
2 weeks.
That's 8 days from now, right? Can I add? Yeah, 8, over a week. Everyone will find out. They'll get a you either got in or you didn't get in kind of email, and it's supposed to be fairly personalized as well as to kind of what you could do better to get in if you didn't. Which I'm very curious to see if we get in or not. I don't know. I can get it. I can kind of understand if there's a no for now. Like I'm sure, things are so stacked right for them at this point. Like probably the last thing you want to do is get a lot of content creators into your own program that aren't necessarily supportive. I do think there's some negativity in being just pure cheerleaders that are blind to reality. I don't think that helps the game either.
I think that we're not being supportive. I think that we're just like, not going to pull our punches when we see something that we think is not going to work well or don't like ourselves, and we're going to have opinions about it. I mean, that's if they're looking for people that are being genuine, well, that's us.
Are we white knights or dark circle? White knights or dark circle? It's only one or the other. Isn't that what he said?
When?
You're either white knights or the dark side.
Knights of the White Flame definitely sounded like the bad part of the South to me. So I'll take the other one.
Cultists or white knights? Cultists or white knights?
Yeah, that also drives me nuts too. Like there's no room for in the middle. I don't know. I don't see anything we do or that I put out as doomerish. I just think it's more reality based, but people get so stuck on their far ends that it's hard to kind of see that. So,
Now, just for the context, everybody, we've been doing talk shows talking about games that may or may not have manifested for, 11 years now. So it's not that we just like picked ashes out of a sudden all of the blue. It's like, we've been following it the entire time. And so we've seen where it was, where it's gone, where it's been, and have some inkling of where it perhaps is going. So,
you talk about us.
You
talk about us picking this game. We have a really not great record in the things we try to follow. And it's almost as if people see us coming to do a show or a talk about them. Like maybe they should turn us away because
are we a curse?
For those of you that are sort
or
of
do
newer,
we just back things that we like that seem a little too ambitious for the folks that are trying to execute on it?
Yeah. For you guys that are sort of new to us as a group, so TheraForge as a group has existed for it's since 2011. Yeah, since 2000. It's been a while.
2014, I think, is when TheraForge started.
Yeah, and it started with EverQuest Next and Landmark, and that, of course, closed down. Also,
a little bit of H1Z1 Just Survive, and that closed down.
Yeah. the other big thing that we did would have been Chronicles of Illyria for a while.
Revival from
Revival as well.
Alphonic.
Yeah, and then Chronicles of Illyria, and we've kind of bounced. Actually, we had coexisting shows at the same time, actually, with COE and Ashes. We sort of started up. They actually coexisted for a while. Yeah, Ashes was going for a good bit before COE sort of closed up shop. Well, I guess they didn't close up shop, but got to where we're at today. So, and here we are. I like to think that it's just that we like to back big ideas, and big ideas just seldom actually become reality in the way that we want them to. So I don't think it's that we're the curse, hopefully. It's just that we like.
Did we have a New World show at some point, or did we just talk about it on the Theory Forge Fridays when we just had the general show? I guess it's probably Theory Forge Sundays by that point.
Yeah. No, we talked about New World for a little bit.
We talked a lot about New World. I just couldn't remember if we had a show for it.
We had talked about starting it, and we just no. So, anyways, is it us, or is it just the MMORPG genre in general that when you look at that, I mean, all three of those, EverQuest Next, Chronicles of Illyria, and now Ashes, are like big attempts at greatly furthering the genre, like not little baby steps, but big ideas. And so maybe that's just why they don't come to be. I have an interesting idea on EverQuest Next. Actually, if you go back to the very, very beginning stages of Ashes of Creation and you look at their pillars as they were presented initially, they line up super well with EverQuest Next design ideas.
Exactly.
They didn't call them pillars, but they line up almost perfectly in changing world and player interactions and all these sorts of things. And interestingly, I would love to talk to Steven about this someday. I don't know that he'll talk to me ever again, but I would love to know if early on, especially with Bard, if Ashes had sort of this, let's pick up off of EverQuest Next kind of thing and try to grow with that. Because they lined up so well, and EverQuest Next is closing down as Ashes is starting, and they of course brought over a lot of SOE/Daybreak devs. But interesting.
I think that was Jeffrey Bard's idea for sure. I think that was kind of his vision, is it would be a kind of watered down Quest Next. That there's a lot of stuff that they could do to innovate. And they had already gotten a bit of a head start on some of that stuff with EverQuest Next, but Ashes of Creation would be not quite as not shooting for the stars as much as ambitious, not as ambitious as EverQuest Next. I think that was his vision. I think Steven's vision was very much closer to Arcade and
Guild Wars 2, Lineage 2.
Yeah, and then once Bard left, it definitely swung, whatever.
Swung.
Swang
into a much, a little bit more PvP focused area. So, Swan.
Swan.
Yeah, I think my caffeine's starting to wear out.
I mean, with APOC being the first offering they did, that very much was a hey PvP.
Yeah, I don't know. People get mad when we say that, but there really has been a switch, a movement towards far more PvP based systems than what was originally in. The beginning point, which Diggs is of course well known for at this point, is the open oceans, the no corruption in the open seas, of which a point Diggs said, "I am out." And I think I even saw Talent or somebody talking about you in that this weekend in Discord about how Diggs, flipped out or something about it. I don't know. Anyways, but
I don't think I flipped out. Did I flip out? I don't think I flipped out. That's the deal breaker.
But you definitely have seen a switch towards that. And then you start adding into lawless areas and now the harbingers and stuff like that. Yeah, literally everybody thought you did.
I know, but finally came around to where I am.
Well, I mean, to be fair, you
Sucked
cover a
first.
game for 7 years, 6 years, 7 years at that point, and you're like, I'm out. I think
I know, but part of that is like there's other games that I like better.
Actually,
I mean, you know.
Were you the first crash out? Did that happen pre-Narc? Did that happen what's his name? Jay?
Yes,
Jalon?
Yeah, Jalon. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So Diggs was the first crash out. Is that right? Someone can verify that.
I'm still supporting the game. I still support the game. It's just I don't want to play much PvP. Okay.
Of the old guard, yeah. No, that's true. Actually, I've never thought of it that way. All right.
It's one of those things that I worry wouldn't have happened if it had been closed development during more of this period, because I think part of the reasons why the lawless zones being appealing for PvP became a thing is that they didn't have the world built up enough to have the lawless zones that were already intended, like, you know, the open oceans and other sorts of stuff like that. And so as a placeholder, so they could start testing those systems, they started having land-based lawless areas. And then instead of remembering, wait, this is just a placeholder, it's not actually part of the final mechanics, it kind of became, well, it kind of works. Let's just keep working with it, I guess. And if we try to pull it out, a lot of the people are gonna cry and call foul because we took away the place where they do their PvP, so they have to go back to ganking caravans like a normal PvP group, or like declaring wars on other guilds. Yeah, I think that's part of the reason why it got lodged in and has kind of stayed, is that it had a lot of stuff that the PvPers wanted out of a PvPing experience. And then as the areas kind of opened up and stuff, the areas that were lawless kind of migrated. Personally, I would love to see them push the lawless back out to the open seas, and you can have like one inland place, or maybe wherever a castle is located, maybe kind of surrounding that area is somewhat lawless to an extent. Could be something like that. But by and large, I'm still hung up on the fact that a level 5 can't safely go to a different node along the roads without being attacked by something that either patrols onto the road or was trained onto the road by somebody else and didn't leave. So now you've got this thing waiting here that isn't leashing back to an area where it can go back to doing whatever it was doing before. So you know, it's the fact that you not only don't have those safe avenues that a level 10 or below player can use to get around the world, you don't even have the guarantee that all the places you're traveling to aren't going to be places where somebody's just going to walk over and kill you for the fun of it because you got automatically flagged and they've got nothing better to do.
Yeah, I don't know where the Discord is, if it's coming through me or who. So yeah, I'm hearing the pings.
Be me.
Leave us alone. We're trying to do a show, people.
I don't believe I have those sounds turned on.
Yeah, it might be me. I like the idea here. Yeah, Abel, from saying make the undeveloped areas lawless so that the PvE players can develop them. Remove the lawlessness if they want. I actually don't mind that. Actually, almost a different reason though. I feel like your PvE players, your crafters are going to be in the more established areas. So by letting the others be lawless, that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, I can see the logic in that.
So,
I mean, they can also have territories that aren't part of a node region that are just these like little independent areas that are just lawless on the borders. So as much as I didn't like the dangerous crawl across the river to get into the desert, it definitely did make you think twice before you tried going across that stretch. And so, I could see some pockets of this is the easiest route to get from this large region to this large region, and being the easiest route, there's such a high level of banditry that it's just lawless. Nobody's going to claim it as part of their borders because they don't have the supplies and resources to actually patrol it and clear out the bandits and that sort of stuff. So whatever happens there, everybody shrugs their shoulders and says it's out of our jurisdiction. That makes a lot more sense. And that also means, well, if you want to do it the safer route, you've got to go an alternate way than the most common route that, you'll be able to get through if you've got a juiced out caravan and you can, fend people off, or you're just, traveling fast and you hope nobody thinks you're a juicy target. But I think that's probably a lot more acceptable for the general population, for high travel areas between nodes, or even between settlement areas, and perhaps between entire regional areas, is where some of the lawless stuff occurs. So you can still find a way around if you need to, and it doesn't have to be lawless all the time. But somewhere where there are common places where PvP can occur and they're expected to occur. And if you don't want that to happen, you can avoid it and take a longer route.
Yeah. There was a comment about hiring mercenaries to protect you. I gotta say, man, I don't got time for that shit. Look, I'm an older, aging person here with kids and a beautiful, wonderful wife. And I don't got an hour to try to hire somebody to be a mercenary, and I just don't.
Yeah.
I mean, it does sound
when you
interesting
said that,
in
though,
theory.
I thought about NPC mercenaries.
That's another one, but
because that's one that. But at that point, if you're hiring NPC mercenaries, why are you even playing an MMO? You might as well just be playing like Skyrim with mercenaries, basically.
yeah, in theory, it sounds really cool, right? Like, hey, I'm gonna, and that's where you get, what was it, Suspect, that you can do contracts and hire them to do stuff and things like that. They actually had a wonderful website, but anyways, no, it wasn't Suspect. Who was it? Anyways, I can't remember. Somebody can remind me, but the reality is, to like the effort to go into doing mercenary, like talking, finding a good mercenary person to hire and pay them and find a time that works. It's just exhausting, man. Like I just don't want that to be a required portion of my game time. Like time is important, and that will not be well spent time. So maybe the game's not for me. I don't know. I hate that line, by the way.
PvPers love to contemplate getting paid to protect PvEers. I guess
but
that
the
happens in
logistics
other
just
games.
don't work. I gotta go AFK
Yeah.
a sec. Keep going.
Okay. Yeah. I don't think most PvEers want to have to pay other players to protect them, and it's still more PvP. Like I'm not going to sit around and not fight. I mean, I just don't want PvP to be around me or like forced upon me when I'm not in the mood for it. So it's not a situation where other people PvPing for me is going to solve that problem.
Yeah, that's what your guild's for. That's a good point. That is a good point. But are you going to have PvE guild? Like, what does a PvE guild do, right? Or are we just going to have guilds that really have to be structured to be a PvX, which PvP? I don't know. Ludaloo, good point. Also pay with which money at level 7? Yeah, how much money are you going to actually have? So Well, what else? Anything? Anybody have any comments in the chat? Any questions? We're getting towards the end here. Didn't spend a ton of time on Steam, which is good. I think at this point everyone's had the weekend, but man,
I mean, I think we still have to give it a shot and see what actually happens. So, I mean, we have our expectations, but it will definitely be interesting to watch what actually happens.
yeah. It's sad because
Are we waiting? Are we waiting to hear from Asmon?
Oh, the others, folks. I wouldn't. We'll see. Yeah, we'll see what happens December 11th. So, although I'm pretty sure, I saw a screenshot somewhere of a Discord that message. I think it was Nice that had it, that said something like, "This game's not meant for Asmon," and Steven had like a thumbs up or a flex emoji or something. I don't know. So apparently he's not the target audience, anyways, which he probably isn't, actually. All right, Shiba Fang, I appreciate the $3. So, all right, guys.
The one thing that I'm kind of wondering, and I'm not going to do it right now, but is wondering, just going down the checklist again, what they meant to have in by this point, what they've actually got. There's still a lot that's supposed to be here, and a lot of it continues to seem like it's getting kicked down the road here and there. I understand we got spears in. What are the other weapons that made it in that we were waiting on? Did two-handed clubs make it in?
I'll have to go pull everything up.
Did rapiers and stabby swords make it in? I don't know that staff was actually on the last couple of lists for coming in, but I know that's one that we've been waiting on. Yeah. One-handed daggers is going to be an interesting thing, because it feels like that's going to be pushed down the road for the dual wielding expansion.
The what expansion?
Dual wielding expansion. That's me saying, I'm taking kind of a prediction here that at some point there'll be some major content update or expansion where they have the one-handed daggers and the ability to dual wield different weapons. So it sounds like they want to do that, but you can't do it now.
Yeah, Master Chief, I think he's just saying mixing the weapon types.
So the rapier's in.
Yeah, they added axe, great axe, spear, rapier, great mace. Wait, that's 2 drop tables. So I don't know. We'll see. Things are on their way. Will it be enough? Who knows? So, I don't have anything else to say for tonight. Do you guys?
I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens and how the Steam audience and otherwise, react to all of this, and how it all goes down, and if they're able to have Steam not allow comments for the game right now. Because I think you can do that. I'd have to check, and then if I checked, I would have to not say it.
Oh no, there's a lot of stuff on Steam. You can go to the community tab, community hub, and there are ongoing fights about you got your people saying this game sucks, and you got your people saying this is the best game ever. So that is all playing out in real time over on Steam.
Already.
Yep.
Well, all right.
Well, and you know what what I think is kind of sad, actually, is that you have a lot of people too that I think already own the game that are have already mentioned purposely going to buy the Steam version, because if you own it, you can't go, it sounds like we're not going to be able to review it on Steam. And so there's already people talking about how they're going to just spend the money to review it and then refund it. So, which I think is actually a pretty terrible thing. But It's getting crazy on Steam right now. Yeah, no, if you go over there, there's a lot of back and forth. This is a highly debated game, which could either be a good thing or a very bad thing. We'll see how it happens from a reputation perspective. So, okay, guys, I think we are at our end.
One last thing. The reason why the trailer is not going to work well is because the only way it makes sense is when they explain it to you. And if they don't explain what they explained in the live stream in the trailer, then, you know, it doesn't quite work. The fact that it needs that narration to make sense. I don't know.
And the trailer looks nothing like the game. I don't make
trailers. It, you know, looks like it was professionally made. I just think it could have been made better.
Well, I hope people aren't expecting characters to look like the character in the trailer. So, last thing I'll say, actually, I'm glad you brought that up. Whole reason we've been spamming these old this is the September development update here, playing next to our faces as we talk, is because they still have not put Friday's stream up on YouTube, which is not norm for them. That would have been up Friday or Saturday, and it's still not there. So I don't. I guess you can sort of debate as to why that is, but they have yet to post their Twitch stream onto YouTube. My guess is they've seen all of the comments that have hit some of the other video that they posted, and they're waiting. But we'll see. Hopefully, they do actually post it. Yeah. All right, guys. Everyone, thanks for hanging out. We are here. We try to be here on Sundays. Come hang out in Discord if you don't already. And yeah, you know, big news, big change. Not the end. Hopefully things can rebound from this. But
yeah,
definitely a shock.
Not the end.
Oh, a raid. Is there anyone actually doing ashes other than Dusty?
I don't know.
Let me look.
Other than Dusty, tell us how you really feel.
There is not. So, yeah, we will just end it here. And yeah, I appreciate y'all, everybody that's been hanging out on YouTube as well and making comments on those videos. I'm in Where Winds Meet. If you are playing Where Winds Meet, there's a Theory Forge guild there. Just hit me up and get you in. Ion 2 is actually in 3 days as well. I just downloaded that on there's a video. What's his name? Kanan actually put out a very good video. If you want to play it, you do just have to create a new account, select Taiwan as your area. But luckily Ion 2 is not going to have any sort of requirements being in the country or their whatever their equivalent ID is, social security like stuff. So anyways, everyone have a great week. And I don't know, Diggs, are you there?
I am.
Okay, I didn't know. I heard from you. So wasn't sure if you were still there. All right, everybody.
Yes.
Have a great week. And we will see you next time.
See you later, everybody.
All right, bye.
See you in 2 weeks or less.
Yeah. Yeah, well, maybe we'll be content creators at that point. We'll see. Who knows? 24